And we're back. Welcome to the Auto Authorities podcast. My name is Jay Grosman. I am the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent. We are real estate agents for people's cars. And man, we have a special insider view for you from one of our good friends, Gerald Bentley, who is inside the dealers right now. And he is going to give us some amazing inside information, insights of what is really going on, what's going to happen. So if you've been wondering, or you have a friend or family member who's been wondering, stay tuned. Mr. Gerald Bentley, are you ready to do this?
Yeah, good morning, Jay.
Let's do it.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
There you go.
Booyah! Welcome to the Auto Authorities podcast. My name is Jay Grosman. If you are just tuning in, we have a special insider view today with Mr. Gerald Bentley. And iAutoAgent is a company that can help you sell your car at no cost to you, handle the marketing, the showing, the money transaction, and we'll even help you buy a car and maybe deal with people like Gerald Bentley, because we only deal with reputable dealers and private owners, of course, but we'll handle everything from A to Z nationwide. We'll do all the heavy lifting, and you don't have to move forward until you approve the deal. And I would like to thank our wonderful sponsor, Podcastify.me. That's Podcastify.me. They make this beautiful podcast every single week, week in, week out. And if you want a podcast like this, contact Podcastify.me. And if you are just joining us, you might be watching us live, because if you want to watch us live, you can go on Facebook group page and click the join group button to watch us live. You can go on YouTube, you can click subscribe button, and you can watch us on 19 other different channels, such as iTunes and Pandora and Amazon and all those types of things. But you can also leave us comments. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear what your thoughts are based on the information we're going to provide today. This is raw, it's uncut, it's not planned, and it's not edited. It's coming straight to you. So leave those comments. We want to hear maybe what has happened to you in the past, maybe a dealer horror story. Whatever it is, let us know. But without further ado, I would once again like to introduce you to one of our favorite guests, Gerald Bentley. Welcome, Gerald.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Good to be back.
Yeah.
It really is a crazy time, and your service would actually help people a lot right now, because if I know you're in the St. Louis side, I'm out in Kansas City. People that are looking at trading in cars right now in our part of the country, they would be ahead to reach out to somebody like you, because there's still a huge shortage of cars in other areas of the country, in Kentucky, in Texas, in California. There actually is quite a bit more money for your car if you do reach out to somebody like you and kind of shop them around the country. I think people would be surprised.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
Just give you a little unsolicited plug.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, so for those of you that don't know Gerald Bentley, I'm going to let him tell you his background, because I'm going to say this, and not to make your head too big here, Gerald, but Gerald is one of the brightest people that I've ever met in this industry. And I do not say that very often. I usually can't even have a conversation with somebody to the level of like somebody like Gerald. So Gerald, tell us a little bit about your background. What do you do?
Well, actually, now I'm really working on consulting with dealerships on providing good customer service, and in doing that good customer service, also working smartly as a dealership, because there's so many little mistakes that dealerships make, so many things that they do because it's what they've always done, that actually make it harder for them to sell a car and harder for a customer to buy a car. So it just doesn't make sense. And a lot of times when you sit down, you get a chance to talk, you can get those things corrected and make it a better process for everyone. I've worked in managing dealerships in different areas of the dealership for over 20 years, and before that, I did morning drive radio and was a buyer for Nordstrom. So quite a quite a bit of a background.
It
But
is.
a lot of it deals with talking and with customer service. And at the end of the day, car sales is really one of the very few direct customer service jobs that still exist, where you're meeting with somebody and it's a one-on-one transaction and they're trying to sell you something, and one of the very very few things that you still negotiate.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this, Gerald. You had said something. So Gerald does help dealerships work in a better, and this is a guy you want on your side, because it sucks to go buy a vehicle. And I'm going to tell you a
Yeah.
story, Gerald. And so this just happened. So obviously we help people buy vehicles nationwide. So when we work with the dealers, we are working with the people that run the dealers, just like you.
Hmm.
Here's the challenge that we're seeing. And we have a client right now that, I'm not going to say the name of the dealership. We kept calling them. Nobody, not only did they answer their phone, but to try to even talk to the manager, they didn't even like answer their phone. Like, how do you sell
Yeah.
a car when you don't answer? We should just like, hey, maybe you should talk to Gerald Bentley and his company, because if you don't answer your phone, how are you going to sell cars? And nowadays, people are going to want a lot more information. Like,
Hmm.
just saying.
Well, there's a lot less people that come to dealerships. Foot traffic is way way down, and that's never coming back. It hasn't come back. It was already dropping, and then when COVID hit, it plummeted. So your closing rates at a dealership should be a lot higher, but your number of customers is going to dramatically change. And here, I've talked to dealerships. They have policies in place where the managers do not talk to customers. That's utterly insane. Why have them? It's not like the math's that hard. If you're not talking to somebody, why do you even want the job? That's the fun part of it. That's where you
Well,
help people. That's where you could actually make an impact. Maybe answer a question somebody didn't know the answer to. It's utterly insane, but that happens. There's functioning dealerships that have policies in place where the managers do not talk to customers.
that's insane.
I had somebody, they left a voicemail with the dealership, and the receptionist called back and said, "I'm sorry, you can't leave a message with the used car manager." Why not?
Isn't it
Oh, he
something?
doesn't talk to customers. It's our policy.
Yeah. Boy, they
Crazy,
better figure
but
something else
it
out.
happens.
Well, that's why you're going to have a job, several jobs that you have.
Yeah.
So let's really get into this, though. I want to talk about new car predictions, because we talked about this a few months ago, but I've been hearing different things. So what are the vehicles right now that they're not struggling as much, that people can get a little bit more easier, and what are the ones that you're going to have to wait on, would you say?
Well, we'll do the easy ones first.
Okay.
Um, Jeep Grand Wagoneers.
Okay.
If you're in the market for an 8-seat big SUV, an SUV that makes a Suburban look small, those are out there. You
Mhm.
can get them starting at about 80,000. So a nice affordable vehicle.
Mhm.
Ram trucks, big Ram trucks, and Jeep Wranglers and Jeep Gladiators. Those are available. Beyond that, pretty much nothing. Pretty
Mhm.
much everything else is on demand. They're retailing to wholesale almost 1-to-1, which is obviously a big difference from normal. Usually, right? Usually you have, ideally, if you're turning your new car inventory at a dealership in 90 days, you're doing an amazing job. That's the goal, right? You want to turn your used cars in 60 days. So you get a used car in, you want it sold within 60 days. And you want to flip your whole inventory in that 2-month period. New cars, In a perfect world, you want to do it in 90 days. Right now, national average inventory of new cars is 30 days. So that's everything. That's according to
Right.
NADA. So that means there's 1/3 of the new cars in stock versus normal. But even that number is sensitive, because most of those cars have already been reserved. They're just counting in dealership inventory because they haven't registered them yet to a new owner, RDR, report, retail delivery report. They haven't done that yet. So it's showing in inventory, but they're not really available. So you can go by a dealership and they may look like they have 25, 30 cars, but when you get into the lot and you start looking, okay, 5 of them are fleet, 5 of them are rental, and 20 of them are already reserved. So you really have nothing. And it looks like it's going to be that way for basically every brand for at least another year. That's what's being told the dealers now. So if there's a particular car you want, yeah, I mean, you need to go to somebody that you trust. Go to a dealer, because the websites aren't your friend right now. Because the websites may be showing cars that are reserved. They may be showing cars that have already been traded to somebody else to get a car that's reserved. So it's not really accurate information. Just isn't. No
Wow.
fault to the dealer. It's just how the inventory systems were designed. They haven't adjusted to the reality of what's available now. So I mean,
We're,
you really need to go to a dealership, go personally, and talk to somebody about what they have incoming, and just see how close you can get to what you're actually looking for. Because
well,
getting the exact thing you want is going to be a challenge. I know I personally have a new car on order. It's not coming until March, and I ordered it 2 months ago.
well, and
So
here's what we see. So in our buyer's agent program, where we help people buy vehicles nationwide, that is what we do. We actually
yeah,
contact the dealers and we figure out what's what. And that's the hardest part of it, is because you're kind of like you're going through a maze, and then you just like hit a wall. It's like, oh, well, I thought that was available. And you
yeah,
are spot on. That's exactly what we're seeing. So if you want to waste your time, go on the website, and when you see a car, just go ahead and drive out there, and it will not be available. So we do everything remotely with the dealers, and we
mhm,
figure it out. We like just tee it up, and we get it all taken care of for people that don't want to do it. So
yeah,
you're saying that was a pretty, wow, that's pretty powerful, a year.
yeah. 2024 model year at the earliest.
Wow. What about, I got a question for you. So this is what I've seen. So I'll just use Ford F-150s as an example. Um, so we're seeing a decline in pickup truck prices, and I even have some dealers here in St. Louis that have contacted iAuto Agent, and they're like, "Hey, if you have somebody that wants a new Ford F-150, we're taking like 5 grand off the price of these vehicles right now." And what I've heard is, so there's all these storage types of facilities that these manufacturers are looking for. So like auctions are a big one. So there's all these vehicles sitting at auctions, and they're just sitting there waiting for chips. What happens
There's
when
there's a
that
huge one 10 miles that way. They have thousands of F-150s partially assembled 10 miles straight this way. Yeah,
So when those things hit, that is going to absolutely, I mean, the market's just going to take a nosedive. They're going to have
uh,
to bring out incentives and everything, right?
they'll have incentives, but you got to think there's such a backlog of cars that have been produced that it's not going to crater. I mean,
Mhm.
there's been lots of articles, and I don't think too many people are actually reading them, because it's really in the weeds to people who work in auto dealers and really follow automotive sales on a daily basis, like the stock market, talking about used car sales plummeting and used car values plummeting. Well, are they going down? Yes. Are they cratering? No, because last year a used car jumped over 50% of value. I here another car I personally own. Nothing special, but nice car, a 19 Hyundai Elantra SEL. Nice car. It's appreciated $8,000 since I bought it. According to NADA and Black Book, I could trade my Elantra in now for new sticker price from when I was a GSM at a Hyundai dealership 4 years ago. It's way out of whack. So if it's dropping at 3% a month, it needs to drop another 15 months at 3% a clip to be even to where it actually should be.
Yeah.
So they're not cratering, which tells you there's not this massive flood of cars coming in. And we're something like 7 million cars short from what should have been produced over the last 3 years. So 1,000 here, 10,000 there, it'll have a short-term effect, but it's not going to be this huge needle mover that drops everything back to the prices of 3 years ago. It's just not. The volume's just not there to move it that much.
I have a prediction that, like, I feel like, just like every year in October, November, and December, I feel like the market's going to continue to drop. I think it'll drop more than 3% just because of demand and demand.
Seasonally, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I'm telling my clients, people I know. I'm like, listen, it's dropping right now, but if you really, really want a good deal, wait till about October, November, December, and you're
Sure.
going to just see it go boom, 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 boom. But then it's going to start popping back up,
Yeah.
next year. And it'll be very interesting to see. That's why I like having you on, because folks, like, if you're just joining us, so this is Gerald Bentley. Gerald Bentley has been in the business for many years. He runs a dealership in Kansas City, and he's giving us inside information. Like, all that crap that you read, a lot of that, throw it out the window. This is real stuff. This is what's happening right now. And what I want you to do is leave comments below. Go to theautoauthorities.com and leave us comments about, even if there are comments or even questions. What questions do you have for myself or Gerald? We're doing this every single day. And that's why I like talking with Gerald, because he is one of the brightest guys that I've ever met in this industry. And he's like letting us know how it is. We've been talking about new cars, but let's go into the used cars. Like, what do you think's going to happen as we get into next year for used cars? And when do you think, because I think it's going to drop October, November, December this year, but January and February are usually kind of rough months for us. What do you think's going to happen as we get into the winter to spring season of next year?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I actually run the used car section of the dealership. I've ran dealerships in the past in the city, and then I have my consulting business. What I think is going to happen really is that you're going to see just kind of treading water, because part of the reason why used trucks are willing to be sacrifice priced right now, there was a glut of trucks traded in when gas was spiking. Gas was up to almost $5 a gallon here. That never has happened before. Today, just a few minutes ago, it's down to 307. So at 307, people are going to buy a truck. It's really crazy. I don't know if you've noticed this, and when gas gets above $3 a gallon, hybrids get hot. When gas goes below $3 a gallon, you may as well put an anchor on the back of the hybrid. Nobody looks at it. And the opposite with trucks. Gas is cheap. Everybody wants a big truck. Gas gets expensive. Everybody wants a small car. So right now, there's a bunch of big trucks that were traded in because gas was high. Now that gas is low, those big trucks, now they probably start looking more desirable again, and they're sellable again. So it kind of ebbs and flows. I think some of the numbers got skewed because of how off the gas prices were. And, yeah, there should be a seasonal drop because obviously sales drop during this time, and there's not going to be very many new cars at all because you're at a very depressed inventory level and you're at build out of the model year. So that always slows you down a bit, anyways. So dealers have to sell something. They may not be that willing to drop the cars. This is kind of going in the weeds, but something I was thinking about, most dealerships, most big groups, they have their used cars on they call it a 60-day hard turn. And what that means is from the time you trade for the car, you have 60 days to get rid of that car. You either have to sell it or take it to the auction and wholesale it, period. And if you don't, the dealership gets charged a $15,000-$20,000 penalty to their profit line by the group. So they don't keep them past that 60-day mark. I don't know if all the dealerships have followed it. I know some have suspended that policy because right now it would really be kind of an insane decision to take a car, wholesale it, lose money at wholesale, and then turn around and buy the car back because you have nothing to sell. Because if you don't have many new cars, you're not getting trade-ins, and the used car auction market is going to be basically the cars that dealerships that have hard turns had to dump. So you're buying somebody else's problem. It doesn't really make sense. But there's probably some of that from groups that are still doing 60-day hard turns. So you may be able to find some trucks and SUVs at a pretty good price right now because a $50,000 truck when gas was at $5 a gallon, it's probably not selling. It's expensive. I mean, it doesn't, you look at some of the prices. I don't know if you run into this a lot. The old number is figure out the payment. Okay, it's $20 1,000. What's $1,000 a month? That's a lot. I mean, that's eliminating a lot of potential customers.
Let's talk about that for a second because number one, I think you hit the nail right on the head. If you watch the gas prices, that's going to determine. So it's and this is what I tell our clients: buy the freaking truck when it's close to $5 a gallon because it's gonna go down eventually. Like it's just like in a stock market. You don't buy when the market's as high as possible. You buy when there's deals. Like you buy when the market is down. So like you really, really you hit the nail right on the head on that one. There's no doubt.
Well, and the reality is here, if you're a home contractor and you make your living by, let's say you make your living by remodeling interiors, well, you have to haul tub surrounds, you have to haul marble slabs or granite slabs for counters, you have to haul drywall. You're not fitting drywall and marble slabs into a RAV4 or a CRV. It doesn't matter what the price of gas is. You need a truck. It literally doesn't matter. It's meaningless because you can't do your job without it. So at a certain point, you want to take advantage of the situation. Now, you or me, if we're just driving by ourselves, sure, we could drive in a Prius. We don't need a Grand Wagoneer. But
no, that's just good stuff, and that is really true, and that is what do you think about like companies like and we brought it up a little bit, but I really want to get your insight because we bring up Carvana a lot, and they're just doing so many unethical things. What do you think's going to happen to a company like that ultimately that is doing unethical things? They're banned in several states.
Illinois.
I don't even know if they got back reinstated in Illinois or not.
I don't believe so. And North Carolina suspended their license.
Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they're doing so many unethical things. And one of the reasons why we have this podcast, it's not just to sit there and rip on dealers. That's not it. But because we work with dealers all the time, but I don't consider them. I consider them just an absolute evil company. Same with Vroom. I mean, the stuff that they're doing, they're selling wrecked cars that have been in floods. They're not giving people titles. Like, what do you think's going to happen to a company like that? Because you're in the insider right now and you see what's happening.
Yeah. I don't think here, and it's not exactly a bold statement. I don't think any of them predicted that they would be getting into this market. It's Carvana, at least they kind of came from a car background. It was started by the people who own Drive Time and Bridgecrest Credit. If you have Drive Time dealerships in your city, it's the same family owns Carvana, the majority of it, anyways. Um, but I think they got into it because they thought, oh wow, hey, this is super easy. Because
Hmm.
before COVID hit, you wanted to fill up your lot, you can make one phone call, call up Enterprise or Hertz, and have 100 cars in there on your lot the next day under factory powertrain warranty, already reconned to the point where you can sell them. Not perfect, but good enough. They pass a state inspection. And there you go. There's your 100 cars, and you own them for 60% of new sticker. You take 20% off new sticker, you can sell them all day long. And that's the market dynamic that they entered, the business in. Now, like I said, with my own car, you're paying new sticker for the car. They have more miles, they take more work to recon, and they're harder to get. So now your profit margin is basically gone. The only way you're going to profit is selling warranties and on APR and selling the loans.
Yep.
And now interest rates are going up. So there's really no easy avenue for them to profit. And what are they doing to really help the customer other than saying, we'll take the car back if you don't like it? That's really about it. I don't think anything else they do is terribly customer friendly.
No, no,
You
they're
probably run
terrible.
into it more than I do,
Oh,
but
it's terrible. Like I know so many things. And I'll tell you, all the stuff you read about them online is true as long
yeah.
as it's not on their website. It's such a bad, bad, bad company. And we don't even deal with them. Like when we're helping people buy vehicles nationwide, we will not deal with Carvana. We will not deal with Vroom. They are terrible, terrible, terrible companies.
Well, and you're
So
paying a huge premium for the cars from them too. They're not
no.
competitively priced compared to your
Mhm.
local dealerships. They just aren't.
And one of the things I noticed, speaking of the devil, so all these companies like Carvana and Vroom, like, send us your information and we'll buy your car from you. And even CarMax, they're all like lowballing cars. Like
hmm
we are seeing some real lowball offers.
Yeah.
And truly, like we have a network of buyers. Like, so when somebody wants to sell their car and frankly, like they don't want to put it through our concierge program, we have a network of buyers, which are all dealers. And we have been negotiating amazing deals. Like some of our dealers are paying really, really good money. But it's really interesting. The online companies are paying like that. I mean, terrible.
Yeah. I noticed that. Don't you think maybe they're trying to just
Recover their profits.
lower their cost and create a profit
Hmm.
margin? Yeah. And
Yep.
CarMax, they're big enough with the lack of cars getting driven through auctions now because of a
Yep.
lack of inventory.
Right.
If CarMax makes a decision, hey, we're going to lower all of our bids by $3,000 to $4,000 across the board,
They're going to
they
do it.
can just through
Y-
their own decision move the
Yep.
market some.
That's
Is
true.
they got to be way way out of balance. And ideally in used cars, baseball, they talk about power bands. Hitters have the most positive results when a pitch is right here. Well, car dealers have their power band too on used cars. It's between 18 and $24,000. If your
Mhm.
inventory is way above that on an average, if you have an average used car inventory up in the 40s, like I talked about, it's about $20 per thousand. Okay, how many
Mhm.
customers are going to come in and want to pay $800 a month for a used car? It's not that many. You want that number down in the 20s or the 30s at the most. And I think that's kind of what Carvana is doing there, and CarMax. They're driving down their bids to try and lower that average inventory cost because they're way out of whack, probably because of the gas spiking. Their average inventory is up over 40, and that's just not a good place to be. You want to be cheaper.
In the last 20 seconds we have, what's the number one piece of advice that you can give somebody that is looking to buy a new or used car right now?
Go to a dealership, talk to a salesperson, talk to one of the managers, and actually get an accurate answer. Don't just count on what you're seeing online. It's not going to be accurate. Go talk to somebody you trust.
I love it. Gerald Bentley, thank you so much for being here again. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Leave your questions. Go to theautoauthorities.com, and we will see you next week. Peace.